Uh, so yeah, we're probably going to get people worshiping your feet. So, what do you think about that?
I am very, very selective about who gets to worship my feet.
Yes. Everybody, I'm Nicholas Tanek with your kinky friends. Please welcome Stephanie Wilbur to the show. Wow, I'm so excited. We're going to talk about, she's got quite a story to tell about herself. And we're also going to talk about being a sex coach, erotic blueprints, and
Yeah.
more. So, Stephanie Wilbur, what's inspiring you these days?
Oh, well, I went to a rope studio last night. That was a lot of fun discovering that. And there was, it was a mixture of, it was called Ritual, and it was a mixture of, well, spirituality. There was like an intention, letting go of things that were weighing you down. And there was a small ceremony. And there was also, even in one of the play spaces, there was a small tea ceremony. So someone had come over from Estonia and was doing a tea ceremony so that we could be like fully present as a meditation practice. So that was it was a very interesting evening. So right now, I think for me, it's discovering all these possibilities. Yeah.
That is wonderful. I love doing that. Like going to a place like that, like a dungeon or just a munch or just any, and then just coming back and feeling that high. We're like, oh, there's a whole world out for me out there. It's a great feeling. So, one thing you do is you help women reclaim their confidence and what joie de vivre and awaken their senses and discover their feminine beauty and power so they can finally have what they truly, deeply want in life. How do you do that?
Oh my gosh. That's a great question. And we could talk about this for a long time. For a long time, I did it through movement because I was a belly dancer and I was teaching movement. And that was one of the tools. Now I'm doing sensual dance. I did it through wardrobe, but as really an expression of who you are, not something that's really fashion related. And I felt that there was something missing for many years, and the erotic and the sexual self-expression, loving your body, being able to own your desires, express them, communicate them, get them met. Oh, that is so important. Mm.
Definitely. Yes, without a doubt. So, you wrote this on your site. I'm going to ask you this question.
Yeah.
Why is sex so important anyway?
Oh my God. Because it's an expression of who we are. A lot of the unexpressed parts of us get to play in that part of our lives. It reflects our vitality. And when you can really embody it, there's wholeness there. There's self-acceptance. There's joy. There's pleasure. There's just being fully alive. That's why sex is so important.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So there's this, we were talking about Goddess Sika. Shout out to Goddess Sika in India, Calcutta, where they just legalized prostitution, basically legalized sex work, which is a big thing. And I'm noticing, especially by doing this, that there is this wonderful movement, and it's always been there. I just think it's coming out more and celebrated more. This movement of women embracing their sexuality. How do you feel about that? What is and as seriously, what can the males do to help? Genuinely help, not just get laid.
Oh, Well, that's two parts.
Yes. I tend to do that, sorry.
Yeah. So now I only remember the second part. What can males do?
Okay, well,
Okay, so to answer that question, one of the tools that I've found profoundly life-changing is the wheel of consent. And what that's about is because when people hear about consent, we think of it as giving a yes or giving a no, giving permission, saying, okay. And that is a very thin, poor definition of consent. It's very, very narrow. What I mean by consent is actually learning how to have a communication, an exchange of what you want to co-create together. So if it's between a man and a woman, not taking things for granted. That if you say yes to something, let's say, oh, yes, I'm yes to having sex. That is so vague. It's like, well, what's going to happen between us? What do we want to create? How do we want to play? How do we want to feel? What parts do we want to touch? What parts might be off limit tonight or this morning? No, to be able to do that changes the whole game between men and women, between just people. It affects all our relationships. Because, okay, I'll give you an example. I had for so long, I had so much trouble even being able to say no, or I don't like this. Let's stop and try something else. I had to experience something like orgasmic meditation to learn this. I had to go to cuddle parties where it was very sensual. It was just practicing asking for what I wanted, hearing no's, being able to say, well, you're asking me to do this, so I agree to do this, but maybe not that. How can we change it so that you have a win-win situation? And so many women are silent on their desires. They don't want to hurt the other person. They've been, we've been conditioned to be very accommodating. We don't want to hurt the other person's ego. And it is incredibly freeing, and it creates such a different quality and depth of relationship when you're able to have these conversations. So for me, it goes beyond honesty, because sometimes you don't even know, because you haven't been able to connect to your body and listen to what you really want or don't want. So it's hard to be honest when you don't know what's going on inside.
True. It is hard to be honest when you don't know what's going on inside.
Is that going to be another quote?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's like you sometimes you feel, oh, there's something off, but you don't really know what's going on. So it's really hard to express. You're not used to expressing it as it's happening. It takes practice.
Yeah. So you mentioned you mentioned consent and cuddle parties.
Yes.
All right. For those who don't know, please tell us about your first cuddle party or about what a cuddle party is.
Okay. So a cuddle party, it's a space where people can interact in a playful way, in a sensual and non-sexual way. So people those that I went to, you remain fully clothed, And there are mats on the floor. So you start with a circle. People are often, like me, like very, very nervous when you arrive, especially if it's the first time, you've never done this. And then there's opportunities to play. So you're a small group and you'll share, oh, I would like to have my shoulders massaged, or I've even had the opportunity to be like, to have like 4 people, 2 people holding me here and 2 people holding me by the feet and just being swung, and I felt like a little kid again. So the possibilities of play are endless. You could dance, you could, you know, have someone lay on top of you to feel weight. It's very, what happens is what you want happens. So it involves developing skills of communicating what you want and being able to say yes and to someone's request, to modifying it. If you know, if it's not a hell yes or a fuck yes, it's like, well, okay, how can I say yes to your request in a way that feels good to me? So just that, when you're in your body, so it's not just a conversation that's happening here. Your body is involved. That's where it gets interesting.
Definitely. I noticed that, like, for example, at places I've been, they're not like specific cuddle parties, but they're like cuddle sections, you know, where it's like they're you know that they're there just to like cuddle with each other, kind of, and they're cuddling with each other, like all of them together, you know. So yeah, there is a term of, oh, I find comfort basically in the consent, the fact that it is consensual, the fact that, like, wow, we've come so far just together that we can consent to each other, and that's a beautiful thing, you know what I mean? So I don't know, I romanticize stuff like that though. So all right, let's get back to the next thing. You wrote that you felt like a Wookiee, a big hairy alien. So this is to basically preface your kind of journey, because we all don't start out, you know, enlightened sexual beings. You know, we got to find our way. So, so how did you go from feeling like a Wookiee, a big hairy alien, to Stephanie Wilbur, the woman I see right now?
Oh my gosh. So, first of all, if you don't know, because we haven't met in person, I am very tall, and I am not really like this thin and tall. I'm curvy, you know, I basically look like, you know, a plus size model on the smaller side, you know, and tall with curves, and I did not embrace my femininity. I saw it as something weak. This was in my 20s. So I rejected a lot of what we associate with feminine expression. A long time ago in a kink galaxy far, far away, I didn't know anything about kink at the time. And so I felt really big and awkward and just not, I didn't feel good in my body. And so belly dance, I actually prefer like Middle Eastern dance or Egyptian style dance, really helped me feel graceful for the first time and beautiful in my body. And so my journey to accepting this feminine energy in me started when I started Egyptian dance.
Okay, now let's talk about belly dancing. So what inspired, because that is very evident in burlesque and in the kink community as well. Many dancers, a lot of burlesque performers adopt the, you know, Middle Eastern dance to their numbers and stuff, and they also find it very healing, you know, on an emotional level, spiritual level, on a physical level. You know, what inspired you to get involved with belly dancing or with, Middle Eastern dancing?
Well, actually, I was working out at a club that was like just for women, and the person who became my teacher for about 10 years was giving a class, and I decided to join, and that's how it began. And I went on a deep dive. I mean, I started off, her style of teaching, she was Moroccan, was very, very based on folklore. And so before I did the more what you call Raksharki, which is more like the stage style and the very more westernized style, which was developed in Egypt actually for the cabarets in the 1920s, so 100 years ago. I went into like Baladi and Saidi, which is from the south of Egypt. And I love that. Like, I love discovering all about the culture and the instruments and the music and the rhythms. And for me, it was very much about Egyptian style and Egyptian culture.
Okay. And you wrote that you thought that you needed to make yourself more masculine to succeed. Now, after the liver transplant, I put a lot of pressure on myself on success, whatever I consider myself success, whether it's writing, whether it's respect, whether it's money, whatever thing. And I, as a male, feel bombarded. I mean, I'm sure women do feel bombarded with toxic masculinity. Saying that you have to be a male, you have to do a real man does this or blah, 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 blah. So, what's your view on the term toxic masculinity? Because when I read that phrase, I kind of felt that, not from you, not toxic, but you making a statement on toxic masculinity. So what's your view on that term, or that toxic masculinity?
Well, for me, the way that I see the world, we have been living for probably many thousands of years in a dominator culture. So it's a culture based on fear and power. And although, of course, that power has been, mostly concentrated in the hands of men, this power structure, which, yes, has oppressed women and burnt witches and all that, is toxic and destructive both for men and women. So that's how I see toxic masculinity, as it's just this cultural structure that we're right now dismantling slowly. Yes.
And what is your opinion? What is your opinion on the swapping of genders, not necessarily in gender identity, but in fetishes, in culture, like, for example, cross-dressing, or the sissification? Like, what's your opinion on how do you view that?
Okay, so this is relatively new for me to
Okay.
counter this, think about this, and actually it's coming like close to home on a recent, very
Really?
recent experience. Yes.
Please tell me everything.
Oh well, I'm just touching on it. Really, like, I'm talking about almost hours or days. Okay, so I still have a lot to digest. The way I see it is that because gender roles and heteronormative gender roles have been so rigid, we do not have the space to freely express who we are. It's like, if you're a man, you have to dress like this, and you have to be like this, and you can't be soft, and it's, again, we're going back to this idea of dominator culture and putting people. I didn't get to go into depth, but like putting people into these boxes, and if you go out of these boxes, you're unacceptable and you're going to be rejected, and you're in danger, right? You can even be in physical danger and all that. So for men to want to wear women's clothes, I don't understand everything about each person's motivation. I feel that there's something about embodying beauty, being seen as soft and beautiful, that doesn't have a place in our culture. I personally, because I'm not someone who has that kind of like sadistic, or I do have a little sadistic side. I think all humans do, but I wouldn't want to humiliate someone because they want to dress like a woman. Like if a man wants to dress like a woman, like to me that creates comfort. Yeah.
And for me, like whenever I like play with that with someone else, it's for me personally. Like if a woman puts me in women's clothing, it's not a humiliation thing. Like, I get no pleasure from the humiliation. But that's just me. Everyone's different. Everyone does their kink and does stuff for a reason. So you found a kind of freedom in dance, right?
Yes.
So so before that, before you kind of felt that freedom, what did you felt like a Wookiee, right? You felt like an alien, different, obviously, And I think that resonates in so many people, because we all go through a period of our lives where we just feel out of step in the real world, quote Ian Mackay, minor threat, but still, yes, out of step in the real world in some way. So afterwards, what was the one moment that really kind of you felt like you were becoming yourself? You were, like, was it in dance, or was it through romance, or was it through something else? When it comes to, because there's that point, for example, Miss Melissa, who I live with, she had a horrible marriage. I had a horrible marriage, but way before Lynn died. And I think we all go through a period of time where we kind of we go through this enlightening phase in our lives where we look at sex and we look at love and we look at people differently. You know what I mean? And that's what it seems like you went through that. So tell me about that moment.
Okay. Well, yes, dance helped. It helped me embrace, because I do have a lot of feminine energy. Like I'm, if we put it on a spectrum, I'm feminine. I'm in that feminine energy. Trying to be more masculine really did not work for me. Like not at all. It's just going against who I am naturally, right? So yes, being on stage, performing, being seen as a sensual being. It took so much courage to do that. And I'd say also, I've been interested in sexuality, human sexuality, for decades. Right? I had a library full of books and I had read so much, but not had a lot of really amazing in the flesh experiences. I just knew there has to be something more than this, which can be pretty good. Sometimes it's great, but there has to be more. So, okay, I'd say that one of the pivotal moments in my life, I've had a few, but it was going to New York and doing mastery with Mama Regina Thomas Howard.
Okay.
And being in an amphitheater and looking at a pussy on screen with reverence. I mean, you could say in a way that I saw my pussy as a big hairy alien. Is that going to be another quote? Yeah, but it's the first time I say this, but actually, it's so true. It's like, it's this creature that I know nothing about, that I haven't really looked at. It's hairy, it's weird looking, you know, it even felt repulsive, right? So in like learning to love my body and my pussy, that was huge. And it's an ongoing journey.
Oh, you cut out. You got to say that again, please.
Huh?
Wait, hold on, stop. Hold on. You said, please start over. You said loving my body and my
Yes.
pussy, and then it came out, and then it cut out.
Oh, well, I said it's life-changing, but it's also an ongoing journey as I move forward in age, right? My body is changing. So, you know, it's not something that's done and let's move on.
Yeah.
It still requires a lot of self-love and acceptance and more letting go of all these shoulds and how I should be and all these things. Yeah.
And then how did you get involved with Jaya and the Erotic Blueprints?
It was actually on stage again at one of Mama Gina's mastery weekends. I saw her for the first time and I thought, ooh, erotic types, sexual, kinky, and energetic. Did I say sensual? Anyway, and shapeshifter. And I was like, this is really interesting. And I remember talking to her and, you know, saying, oh, I think I'm a shapeshifter. But I really had no idea, you know, it was just like a first taste of what Jaya had to offer. And so I followed her for many years. And actually what happened is that during the lockdown in 2020, so, you know, a lot of time on my hands, the Erotic Blueprint, with Jaya's Erotic Blueprint Breakthrough Course, was offering 1 month of free, like sessions or like mini workshops or healings every single day. So I participated in that and I saw, oh, this work goes way beyond the just like these erotic types, you know, it's so much deeper and vaster than I thought. And that's when I started to get really, I took the class and then I decided to go into the coach training because I thought, oh my God, this is for me. Yeah.
So out of these 5, right, which one would you say you are?
So my easiest access into my eroticism is sensual. So through the senses, I'm someone who loves beautiful fabric and textures and tastes and smells and touch. Touch is a big thing. Like, oh, touch. I want to get my hands on people that I'm interested in. And then there's energetic. So I really love the feeling anticipation and tease and space, and which sometimes can be like difficult to is difficult to a challenge to mesh when I also want like touch and skin and you know, but I also like that tease.
Okay.
Playing with energy.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking when you were talking about sensual, you know, you being the sensual. That's immediately what I thought when you started mentioning cuddle parties.
Yeah, they're for a lot of sensuals there. Yes, absolutely. Sometimes like they're all like puddled together, like a little. I'm thinking in French, like a little puddle of puppies. Yeah.
Mm. Now you are considered a sex coach, right?
Yes.
And there are, I mean, from doing this show, there are many sex coaches out there, but each one is different. right? So how would you classify yourself? What makes you different, basically, from the other sex coaches out there?
That is one of the most difficult questions.
Of
It's
course.
like, what makes me different? Ooh. Um, okay, I think that for me, what's what I put the most emphasis on is creating safety in play.
Yes.
So joyful intimacy, I chose that as my title because I believe that our sexual expression should be a source of joy, of
Hmm.
expansion. Um, and again, creating a place to play that feels safe for everyone. Because the safer you feel, the wilder you can get.
Definitely. I cannot agree with you more. And that's a great kind of approach to it, because I think most of us, we're just looking, as dangerous as we put our lives, as we make our lives. I think there's a deep need for us to feel safety and trust with another person.
Yes.
You know, as hardcore as we may be, but still, I think in general, like we have a genuine need for that, for to feel safety, to feel some kind of safety. And I noticed that throughout my life, that I've basically played with death and being unsafe my whole entire life for fun, you know. And but I find, I all through my life, I found comfort. Maybe I went to that extreme to embrace the idea of safety. Maybe who knows. Anyway, I'm babbling. Excuse me. Okay, so now that you are kind of enlightened, you opened up your mind. What are some new things that interest you, that you want to try, or new scenes that you're interested? Like, for some people it's rope. For some people it's cuddle parties. For some people it's painting. It depends. So what is inspired, like what are you interested in now that you want to experience that you haven't before?
Oh, you mentioned painting. I could say I want to try cross country skiing because I just moved to the country. But well, I'll talk about sex, what I want to experience. So so kink for me is is relatively recent, right?
Okay.
I was telling someone last night that saying that I wanted to explore being a Dom sent me into like an anxiety attack when I actually said it, because in the Erotic Blueprint Breakthrough course there are like these monthly coaching calls and anybody can participate. And
Hmm.
so in one of those coaching calls, as even if I was a coach, I was as participating in it, right, as a participant, and I was like, okay, I want to explore being a Dom. Just saying that and knowing that there were other people, they had to calm me down because I was going into an anxiety attack. Like it was that, and now I'm like, I'm telling people, yes, that's what I'm doing in my sensual dance class. I'm like, yeah, I'm exploring being a dom. So it's been a journey of like, 2 years, 18 months, something like that. So I'm seeing all these different possibilities. So my first experience in a dungeon, apart from all the romance or erotic BDSM novels that I've been reading for 3 years. So in the flesh was like 3 weeks ago, right? So and I was,
Really? Oh, please tell us all about that.
oh my God, it was incredible. It was amazing. Oh, so I am so grateful that one of my friends held my hand. Like she has been exploring being a dom for a few years, and so she was like, very like coaxing me and saying, yeah, come on, you don't worry, everything will be fine, it'll be fun. But like, anyway, I'm so thankful for her. So I had someone to hold my hand. Like I was learning last night, I was talking to people and they're like, yeah, really? The first time that I went to a dungeon, I turned around like 2 or 3 times before I even had the courage to go in. So I was like, oh yeah, I can get
Oh
that.
yeah.
I get that.
Yeah, that happens to many people. Yeah.
And then when
Even
I got
there,
I was like, oh, okay. This was like stepping into one of my novels, but more like a little bit grittier, grungier, less, more variety in body shapes and gender expression. And, you know, it was, and, you know, there were different kinks, you know, like people with, you know, kitty masks or things like that. But, you know, I recognized all the paraphernalia, the dungeon paraphernalia. It was nothing, it was like, oh, okay. This is going on. So I went there as an observer, but then I got really pulled in and I did have some amazing experiences. So I had I had like 3 experiences that were wow. I'll just say wow.
Okay.
Yes.
What was the first one?
So the first one was my friend was there. She's a Domme and she was there with her sub. Mm-hmm. And so we dominated him in a very light, energetic way. So everyone had their clothes on. Well, he had his top off, but so it was very light and very like delicious. And I got a wonderful foot massage. And
I love that word.
Yeah, it was just wow. Okay, so this can happen. This can happen.
So hold on. So he was worthy to massage your feet.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Just noting that. Okay.
I knew he had been recommended. My friend had tested him out.
References go a long way in this community.
Yes, absolutely. For trust, especially in that environment. And I have to do a little parenthesis here because, okay, so about a year and a half ago, I was with some friends who had gone through the Erotic Blueprint Breakthrough course and are both submissive. And we were at a picnic table and I was telling them about my experience. I had gone out dancing at an outdoor dance, okay? And so I had finished dancing with a partner and he asked to remove my shoes, okay? And I was like, really? My feet are all sweaty, you know? Like, really? You want to remove my shoes? And when I told them this, they're like, you are so dominant. He could feel it. And I was like, really? Me? Oh, and now I'm like, my reaction would be quite different, right? I'd be like, yes, take off my feet. Give me a foot massage. I've been dancing all night. So it
already started. It already started. Jackson says, hi, mistress.
Yes.
As soon as you start talking femdom, they come out. I want to be your toilet slave. There you go.
Sorry, no, I'm not into that. So
okay, so the second.
That was the first experience. And then I had a friend who had done some rope and some suspension with a master there, a Domme, who was also like dungeon master there. So I knew that, you know, he had experience and I trusted him. She had done this a few times. So I just followed my intuition and I took the leap. And I experienced suspension. I did not expect euphoria. So I was giggling. I was like, It was really, really a beautiful experience. So that you know, I had started exploring a little.
And then the third.
Pardon me?
And then you said there was a third, correct?
So after we had we were doing aftercare. Really? It cut? I'll take a pause. All this cutting is just creating more anticipation and mystery.
Yes, that's true. That's why I like it. I like this show, lo-fi, all messed up. There's no theme song. There's stuff always goes wrong. There's always something that goes wrong, and I cherish that. I really do enjoy that. I learned to love it because it's raw. That's what it's all about. It's about raw emotion. So, all right. So let's get back to the party. So the third thing, you're on your high from being suspended.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. So I had told this person, this Domme, that I had discovered my kinkiness, my appreciation of sensation play through a fork. So I was doing self-pleasure practices and I was trying different sensations, and I don't have it with me, but imagine a really, really big serving fork, right? Like a formal setting. Okay, so a big serving fork. It's like big as my hand. And I was like, oh, I like this. And in Jaya's erotic blueprints, these kinds of sensations are considered kinky. So I was like, oh, this is kinky. So this was like really my first taste. So when I told him this, and now, did you hear that? Because I see you.
Yes. Wait. No. Start. Big fork.
So I talked about fork as my initiation to sensation play in self-pleasure. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So he said, "Oh, well, I have something for you." So he took out a comb for horses. So it scratches. It has a scratchy sensation. And he says, you know, are you willing? So we had a whole consent conversation, right? And I was like, yeah, okay, let's do this. Oh my God. It was a dream come true.
To be forked?
To be scratched.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it, like, my clothes stayed on. They were pushed aside a little, but they stayed on. And he was very masterful in his way of doing it, in that he built up. So it got a little bit painful, right? But I had so many endorphins in my body. It was like exquisite. I'll put it that way. It was exquisite. So
that's wonderful. And
yes.
I said, when you were talking about consent, the fact that finding someone to experience that with, I always find that because the consent aspect adds to the coolness of it, like that, like recognizing the consent and saying that, like, this is amazing that we both feel this way. It's wonderful. It's, you know, which is something that should be celebrated, I think. And then we have Jackson, Nicholas Tanek, sir, you are doing very good. A big fan of your show. Thank you, Jackson. Stan Vladimir says, Miss Stephanie, you are a very expressive person. I love it. Okay, so Stephanie,
thank you. I am.
What is next for Stephanie? What? How can we? First of all, what should we be on the lookout for when it comes to Stephanie Wilbur?
Well, you know, well, actually, you don't know, but I am bilingual. And so I have things going on, but it's in French. So I'm giving workshops in French. You know, I'm in Quebec. So workshops on the erotic blueprints, on the dynamics of consent and how to play inside, because that's what you said. It's like there's so much freedom and an expansion of possibility when you start playing inside that container of consent. And in English, well, more coaching clients. Yeah, more coaching clients, taking people on a journey to expansion and joyful intimacy with themselves and others. Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people, as a coach, let me ask this: there are many people out there who watch this show, but also, they live on the internet, basically.
They live on the
And
internet.
yes, they live on the internet, and their sexuality and romance actually comes, in the form, almost in a digital form, through the internet. And but so the actual physical relationships that they have with their partners, their wives, their husbands, or whoever, whatever, you know, um, for someone who maybe is in a rut, because I know a lot of people, who are very sexual beings, but they are married to, they either have a husband, it could be even a polyamorous relationship, but they still kind of are in a rut. So what would you tell them? What would you, to anybody who's listening to this right now, who's in a relationship rut, currently in a relationship but in a rut, what would you tell them?
Well, I'd start with yourself. So start playing with yourself, but in new ways. Expand. Of course, I'm going to recommend the Erotic Blueprint Breakthrough course that blew my the possibilities of what I can explore and experience wide open and sky high. Because yes, I discovered, because there are so many parts of yourself. That's what I want to tell that person right now. There are so many parts of you that you haven't even discovered yet. Like just a fork, just playing with the fork can change your forking life, right? And so for me, playing in the wheel of consent and discovering that I hadn't yet explored the take and allow dynamic, because women were very much conditioned to be in the I'll allow you to access my body for your pleasure. At least that's what I learned when I grew up. Or I'm going to give and serve your pleasure. And I didn't have a lot of experience learning to take for my own pleasure. And that is still, sorry, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's still something that I'm exploring. So becoming a Domme feels like it's taboo, but why is it taboo? Because I want to take control.
Now I have this because all I do is like have these weird daydreams all the time, every day. When you said like you becoming a Dom, I automatically had this like image of the scene in my head where some of my friends like kind of like bring you in, like hang out with you, and like and like people like Nico and Shar and Kate, they will they are professional Doms. They've been doing it for decades, and it's like that would be an interesting show to have, to have them like take you and like turn you into a, that would be very interesting. I would watch that. I would love to produce
I'm
that.
very curious, because even last night, just seeing, there was a Dom and she was doing impact play, and she was helping someone learn how to use a new tool, right? A new toy, in a safe way, right?
Yeah.
But just seeing her in action, but like, God, we we need to explore and get out of our comfort zone, and it's so hard. And that's why having someone to hold your hand, whether it's a friend or a coach, it could be so helpful, right? To expand and get out of your comfort zone. So what I wanted to say in relation to that is, yeah, I definitely could learn from seeing other Doms in action. And I realized that my thing is more intimate. Yes. You know,
there are different styles. There are so many different styles.
Exactly.
Yeah, like for example, that woman Sika, goddess Sika from India. She calls herself like the sweet Dom. You know what I mean? Because Mistress Shari, she's very much like, she calls herself the accidental Dom. You know, where she like kind of just fell into it, and she's really good at it. You know, then there's all these different. Then there's Lunatica from France, who, when you're talking about easing into it, well, as soon as the sub walks into a room, she throws him on the ground and pisses on her face. It pisses on his face. You know, so it's like there's so many extremes. There's so many different styles. There's the mommy Dom. There's the, I think it is. I think it is magnificent. I think it's so awesome and inspiring. The fact that you're just interested in it, and that and your attitude of just like, oh, I wonder what, you know, having like a whimsical attitude towards it, because that's the way I view kink, even being submissive or being dominant. Now, here's the real question. How hardcore can you be? Carol Legil says, great show, Nick. Mistress, do you agree with no consensual blackmail, or non-consensual consensual blackmail? So that means there's a whole fetish of men who want to be blackmailed, basically. Some men want to be kidnapped. Some men want to be like stalked to the point of being murdered, because it's an attention thing. And there's a kink for everything. So let's say just the darker territory of like blackmail and kidnapping. Keep in mind, it's consensual. It is. It's all consensual.
That's the thing. It's consensual. So it's fantasy, right? But it's
What's your opinion of that type of fantasy? What is if it is consensual, what is your opinion of that type of fantasy?
As long as it's consensual, do your thing.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Carol Langil, thank you for the question. So, okay, so you do have these. How can people get in touch with you, basically, if they want relationship coaching, if they want erotic blueprint coaching? Who knows? Maybe a little while from now, you're going to be doming subs all over the place. You know. Anyway,
Maybe. It's not in my life goals right now, for sure. Well, they can reach me at StephanieWilbur.com. Stephanie@StephanieWilbur.com. Reach out that way, for sure. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Stephanie. Do you want to play a little game?
Sure.
Okay. All right. We're changing up the games a little bit. So if you were going, let's say a relative dies, an aunt, and they had a sex shop, and you inherited it. You could do anything you want with it. What would be the name of it?
Oh. Well, it would be something in French.
Okay. What would it be?
Yeah, it would be something in French.
It wouldn't be baseball, would it? No.
I'd spend a lot of time finding the name. Maybe La Panthère Noire, Black Panther.
Oh, nice. Yeah. All right. So StephanieWilbur.com. Yes. Oh, rapid fire recommendations. Forgot to do this. Okay. They don't have to be sex related or kink related. Okay. Recommend a film.
I have not watched movies in a while. I saw one a couple of days ago.
Okay. What was it?
It's from France. So no, I have no movies to recommend. one movie that I did watch was what was it called? Dr. Marsters and the Superwomen.
Heard of it, didn't see it yet.
Oh yeah, go see it.
Heard of it.
It was good. It was on Netflix. Yeah.
The last French movie I watched, I think, was Irreversible. Which, do you know that movie?
Oh my god. Nucci was Monica. Anyway, that's like 20 years old.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I saw that, and I saw Climax and Martyrs. Martyrs is a French movie, a French horror movie. Very dark French horror movie.
Okay.
The woman, Lunatica. We talk about that movie quite a bit, actually. The one who just grabs people and pisses in their mouths. Yeah. That's our common thread, is the movie Martyrs. Because she's in France.
Okay.
Okay, recommend a song.
I'd have to bring up my Spotify playlist. You know what? One of the songs that I love is Enta Omri.
Oh.
Which is one of the great songs sung by Kulthum, the great Egyptian singer.
Okay.
And there are instrumental versions, because at that time, it's not quite the same today, but at that time in the 50s, 60s, songs could last an hour. They were like poetry. It was like call and respond, but just the
nice. When it comes to you were mentioning France, I mentioned music, and I immediately thought of Edith Piaf. Even though very different style, but still, and Stereolab. When I think of France and stuff like that. Anyway, all right. Recommend a book.
I just got this, and it spoke to my soul. My God, it's on sex, love, and eroticism in every dimension of life. Feeling alive. This is what we're all looking for, to feel more alive.
That's true.
Highly recommend. But this is a deep dive. It's like a 500-page brick.
Yeah. And speaking of being alive, we all need food. So recommend a meal.
What do I love eating? Whole meal? Huh. I love... Okay, I won't recommend a meal. I'm going to recommend a recipe to try out. If you love caramel, but you want something that's like a little bit more healthy, you take a mixture of tahini and coconut oil that's melted with a little bit of vanilla and some maple syrup, and then you put it in the fridge or the freezer. Freezer will give you more of like a fudge, but the combination, like this to me, it's like so sensual. I love it.
Caramel, vanilla, and what?
Tahini is sesame paste.
Tahini.
So it looks like caramel.
Oh yeah,
it looks like caramel, but instead of being just sugar, right? It's unctuous. It's smooth. It's rich. It's delicious.
I love tahini on falafel. Yes.
This is
definitely. So, yes, Stephanie, it's been an absolute pleasure. Please stay on the line after we're done. But everybody go to StephanieWilbur.com, Facebook, Instagram. Are you on Twitter, Instagram, any of that?
I am not. So I am on Facebook. Yeah. I post videos on Facebook.
Great. Everybody can go to yourkinkyfriends.com. Twitter, Nicholas Tanek, or the whole crew's at Friends Kinky. FetLife. Go to FetLife. We're on FetLife a lot. FetLife. Under Your Kinky Friends, no spaces. You can't miss us. We have a Patreon page. We have a Discord chat group. Got a whole bunch of fun stuff. And we got plans. We got plans. It's great. Remember the cardinal rule, everybody. Be cool. Be kind. Keep an open mind. Take care.